I have the privilege of introducing Paolo Gentiloni, former Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs of Italy, former European Commissioner for Economy. Throughout his public service, he has been a respected advocate of democratic values, human rights, and international cooperation.
Well, thank you. Excellencies, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Well, first of all, let me thank Madame Rajavi and the National Councils of Resistance for this invitation. I think this meeting today is very timely because we are living a moment where being here with some European and Italian friends is very important to stress the fact that what is happening now in Iran is something that leaves the door open to an alternative, to a resistance to the Iranian people, and not only to war and destruction. So it is very important that we meet today, in these days. I think several people in our public opinion is wondering what are the consequences of the ongoing war, which is probably one of the worst diplomatic and military disaster of our American friends. And what are the consequences of this for Iran, for the country, for the regime? Is the regime stronger or weaker? And this is a first point that I think is very important for us to make clear from this meeting and our conversations, because there is a view, I think we all know, there is a view that this war, in a certain sense, made the regime stronger. We all saw the impact of the TV videos about the funerals of the previous leader, and the idea that the regime is now stronger than before, at least in the short term. I think we should be very clear in assessing this situation. First of all, of course, I don't think that the war and the decapitation are means to resolve the situation. But first of all, we are now facing in Iran a sort of vacuum of power. The power is weaker than it has been for years and years. Probably the regime is also changing towards what is not clear. What is clear is that the military, the Revolutionary Guards, are probably playing a stronger role than before, and probably that the regime will try to become even more autocratic, more oppressive, more dictatorial than before, which is not easy because since years there is an autocracy and a dictatorship. Overall, my answer to this question, stronger and weaker, is, well, yes, the regime could, in a certain sense, win the war and lose the peace, if the peace will come, and when the peace will come, because it will be weakened but from what is happening in these days and in these weeks. So first message for the European public opinion, for the Italian public opinion, of course, the war had consequences, but don't believe that the war gathered the Iranian people around the regime, in support of the regime. This is not true. Second point, where can the change come from? I have to say that even personally, I shared in a certain sense hope and illusion on the diplomatic solutions that Europeans, Americans tried 10 years ago. GPCOA and all the agreements built by President Obama, my good friend John Kerry, 10 years ago. I think it was a justified attempt. I'm not saying that this was crazy. I wouldn't define it automatically as an appeasement, but for sure, it didn't work. So now, 10 years after, we should say, first, that this kind of diplomatic way is not working, and it will not work again. More than this, I think that the memorandum of misunderstanding, as you described it, is even worse of what was agreed 10 years ago in this GPCOA agreement. So we are going backward and not forward from this point of view. But also the war is not a solution. I heard some voices from Iran against the regime asking for the war and hoping that the war could have been a solution. I think that the reality proved that this is not true. The diplomatic way was not successful, but the war, the external war and intervention, is not a solution for the European people, not at all. And sanctions are working. As Guy Verhofstadt just said, they should be strengthened in several domains. But as always, sanctions are not the decisive tool to solve this kind of solution. We saw this with many, many countries and in many, many situations. We are seeing this now, we Europeans with Russia in the Ukrainian war. We know that sanctions are weakening countries that we are targeting with our sanctions, and that we are stronger. If we are stronger in the sanctions, they will be more effective. Because for sure, the economic malaise that the Iranian people is living, and that was also part of the uprising in last January, this economic malaise is also coming from sanctions. So sanctions are working, they could work better, but they are not in themselves the solution. The solution is, we could say, in your hands, in the hands of the Iranian people and on the support of the international community to the Iranian people. There is not another solution, not the diplomatic way, not the war and even not the sanctions. I'm in favor of the sanctions, but the solution will not come from the sanctions. We need to strengthen, to support. I'm very happy that Senator Terzi has a leading role in the European Parliament to support your resistance and your activity. This is the solution. We admire your country, your culture, your civilization. I think we will not forget Iranian fighting for freedom. We will not allow, to be very open, that President Trump's unpopularity, which is deep-rooted in Europe, incredibly deep-rooted, we will not allow that President Trump's unpopularity make the mullah regime popular in our public opinion. This is something that is unacceptable for us. And so, freedom, democracy, the support to the National Council of Resistance for people that, as is my case, do love Iran, its tradition, the country that I visited several times. I think this is the way. There is a way beyond the war. The way beyond the war is freedom and democracy. Thank you.